my people and me. And I loved him because he believed it. He lived by it. But you lied to me all these years. You told me to wash and clean my ears and talk real fine just like a lady, and you stopped calling my mama Aunt Sadie. Hear me now. But my country is full of lies. We all gonna die and die like flies. I don't trust nobody anymore. Keep on saying go slow. That's just the trouble. Too slow. Desegregation. Too slow. Mass participation. Too slow. Unification. Too slow. Do things gradually. Too slow. Will bring more tragedy. Too slow. Why don't you see it? Why don't you feel it? I don't know. I don't know. You don't have to live next to me. Just give me my equality. 'Cause everybody knows about Mississippi. Everybody knows about Alabama. Everybody knows about Mississippi. God damn. That's it. Bulging eyes
by my side, and I'll sing you a song. I'll sing it so softly, it'll do no one wrong. On Birmingham Sunday, the blood ran like wine, and the choirs kept singing of freedom. That cold autumn morning, no eye saw the sun, and Addie Mae Collins, her number was 1. At an old Baptist church there was no need to run, and the choirs kept singing of freedom. Now the clouds, they were gray, and the autumn wind blew, and Denise McNair brought the number to 2. The falcon of death was a creature they knew, and the choirs kept singing of freedom. Church, it was crowd, but no one could see that Cynthia Wesley's dark number was 3. Her prayers and her feelings would shame you and me, and the choirs kept singing of freedom. Young Carol Robinson entered the door, and the number her killers had given was 4. She asked for a blessing, but asked for no more, and the choirs kept singing of freedom. On Birmingham Sunday, a noise shook the ground, and people all over the earth turned around, for no one recalled a more cowardly sound, and the choirs kept singing of freedom. The Sunday has come, and the Sunday has gone, and we can't do much more than to sing you a song. We'll sing it so loudly, you better sing along, and the choirs keep singing of freedom.
My name is Emmett Till. I walked this earth for 14 years, and one night I was killed. For speaking to a woman whose skin was white as dough. That's a sin in Mississippi, but how was I to know? I'd come down from Chicago to visit with my kin. Up there I was a cheeky kid, I guess I always been. But the harm they put upon me was too hard for what I'd done. For I was just a black boy, I never hurt no one. They took me from my uncle's house, Mosride was his name. He later standing without hesitation point the blame at the ones who beat and cut me and shot me with a gun, then threw me in the river like I was trash when they were done. I was sent back to my mother, or at least what was left of me. She kept my casket open for the whole wide world to see. The awful desecration and the evidence of hate. You could not recognize me, the mutilation was so great. I came across for justice to be finally fulfilled, all because of me, a black boy. My name is Emmett Till.
We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. Though I join hands so often with students and others behind jail bars singing it, we shall overcome. Sometimes we've had tears in our eyes when we joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it. We shall overcome. No, before this victory is won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome. Don't worry about us. Before the victory is won, some of us will lose jobs, but we shall overcome. Before the victory is won, even some will have to face physical death. But if physical death is the price that some must pay to free their children from a permanent psychological death, then nothing shall be more redemptive. We shall overcome. Before the victory is won, some will be misunderstood and called bad names and dismissed as rabble-rousers and agitators, but we shall overcome. And I'll tell you why. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed to earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Lowell is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall reap what you sow. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. And with this faith, we will go out and adjourn the councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. And we will be able to rise from the fatigue of despair to the buoyancy of hope. And this will be a great America. We will be the participants in making it so. And so as I leave you this evening, I say, walk together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the corner.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Okay, you all sound like you had coffee. You're wide awake. That's awesome. So my name is Mvondo. I am the chair of the Human Relations Commission. It is a great pleasure and honor to be spending time with you this morning. So after Dr. King's address, it is also my honor to introduce to you our city's mayor. So Will Arnold is a lifelong Davis resident who was first elected to the City of Davis City Council on June 2016 and re-elected in November 2020. On June 3rd, Will was sworn in as the 42nd mayor of Davis. And then I'll let you in on a little secret. Will, forgive me, he's also an amazing singer, but he's not gonna sing today. Please help me welcome Mayor Arnold. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, NJ. Let's have another big round of applause for NJ and all the work that she did putting this event on. Absolutely fantastic member of our community. She's the chair, she mentioned, of our city's Human Relations Commission. That is the body in our city that's tasked with putting this event on every year. So, and I see several members of the Human Relations Commission here today, and I want to thank them for all of their work. Particularly, NJ asked that I share a deep thank you on behalf of the City of Davis to the Martin Luther King Day Celebration Subcommittee of this Human Relations Commission, Connor Gorman and Judith Plank, for all of your work putting this event on. Thank you. And to members of our city staff who were instrumental, Carrie Dyer directs community engagement for the city, staffs the Human Relations Commission and is essential for this and many other community events. Thank you, Carrie. And to Joseph Fletcher and his crew here at the Vets Theater. Thank you so much for all of your work putting this on. This is a beautiful event. There's also a couple of folks, elected folks here who I'd like to recognize. My former colleague, former mayor, and now County Supervisor Lucas Frericks is here. Sheila Allen is here on behalf of Supervisor Jim Provenza. And my colleagues on the City Council, Council Member and former Mayor Gloria Partida, and Council Member Josh Chapman are all here. So thank you all for joining us. And of course, I need to recognize my beautiful wife, Nicole, and my children, Reese, Sonia, and Dougie, who are all here today. And thank you to everyone who's joining us. This is a unique and powerful event in our community. It brings us all together for important but sometimes difficult conversations about painful experiences. But these are important, necessary conversations. This is particularly important for all of my fellow well-meaning white people out here in the audience. You'll be hearing from us later. Some of us will be clapping on 1 and 3 during the songs. It's okay. The Spirit's there. But I want to share a couple of pieces of advice to my fellow well-meaning white folks that are here in the audience. Number one, take this and every opportunity you have to hear from those with lived experience. That is the pathway to understanding. And second, as you enter today and as you leave this event, You'll see many organizations tabling in the lobby. Don't dismiss these folks as rabble-rousers and agitators, but engage and learn and exercise your abilities in our shared fight for justice. I know I'm not alone in feeling that the arc of the moral universe has been bending in the wrong direction of late. The fight to bend it back toward justice is our fight. We must be the participants in making it so. So thank you all for sharing this opportunity to be here, to share experiences, and to join together in this fight. With that, I want to thank once again those who are making this event a reality. And now I have the pleasure of inviting our next guest up here. Sokurai Minya Mukomi is the director of the Tessie Foundation, a nonprofit that seeks to advance the course of brown and black girls pursuing their education. Sokurai is also the president of Parents of African American Children in Davis and co-founder of WILD, Women in Leadership Davis, and is a firm believer of the role of community in transforming the lives of minority kids. It's my honor to invite her to the stage now to perform the Black National Anthem.
Thank you. Thank you to our mayor, Will Arnold. All right, how is everyone today? Great. It's always so glad. I think we've come here 10 years in a row, and it's so glad, even during COVID from home, it's always amazing to see the amount of support and the amount of people in Davis that are willing to make this their public holiday. So I'm going to sing the Black National Anthem. I'm going to sing the first half of the anthem. I encourage you to look it up online so that you can really read all the words to the anthem. What I'm singing is also in your program. I'm going to sing one time, and then I'll ask you to join in at the second round. So don't worry about it right now. Oh, if you feel like it, yes, you can stand. Yes. Before we start, I wanted to ask the number one question that I hear people ask every single time. Why is there a Black National Anthem when we already have an anthem, a national anthem? Can anybody tell me? Any guesses? Yes, well, let me see a non-Black person answer that. Because I know you know. We want to know if everybody else knows. Anybody else? I do see any hands? Think about it. Why is there a Black National Anthem? There's somebody? Yes. Tell me, Judah. And why weren't they part of America? One key thing. And they were not free. Yes, good job. So yes, thank you. You know, this is young people leading. And the American independence was in which year? You all know? Yes, and then when was the Black independence? When officially were Black slave free? When do we mark the Black independence? June 19th? 1865. We're talking 90 years. So this is why we have the Black National Anthem, if anybody asks. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring of the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Okay, you can do that, right? All right. Okay, sing with me. Sing with me. Well, let's sing it together one more time. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring of the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing. That's good. High as the listening skies, let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let's do it loud. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rai. Could we get another round of applause, please? Okay. And also, I'm in awe of your voice. You sounded really, really good. So it brings me much joy to introduce the next guest speaker, Dr. Vicky Gomez. Has a doctorate in education. She's the Director of Campus and Community Engagement in the Office of Community Relations, a unit in the UC Davis Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. One focus of her work is on community engagement and building connections with the campuses surrounding communities to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and programs. Dr. Gomez is a trained facilitator of restorative justice, racial healing, conflict resolution, as well as an instructor of diversity education. She is active in the national and community organizations where she provides leadership, presentations, and professional development on a broad range of topics. So in short, she's a champion of all of us and also a very fierce supporter of our local Juneteenth festival. Please help me welcome Dr. Vicky Gomez. Thank you.
I'm a little bit short. I have to bring this down, but welcome and thank you all for being here to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King and his legacy. A big part of Dr. King's legacy was educational access and equity for African Americans and other marginalized groups. However, despite the 1954 Supreme Court decision in Brown versus the Board of Education that outlawed school segregation, schools today are more segregated than ever. A report by the U.S. government's Accountability Office stated that as of 2020 through 2021, more than 1/3 of students attend segregated or majority same-race schools. Black, Latinx, Native Americans, and Alaskan Natives are most impacted because of majority of attend segregated schools that are underfunded and lack the resources to provide an equitable education for them. Dr. King was equally interested in the purpose of education. He argued that it's not enough to enrich the intellect and prepare students for careers. Education must also train them how to think logically and scientifically. In other words, education should teach students how to employ critical thinking skills to assess information, to be open to different perspectives in order to discern the truth. He was concerned about the influence of the media as well as institutions like schools, churches, courts, and others that are not always objective or free from unbiased truths. We can all be influenced by propaganda, as evidenced by the multitude of misinformation generated on social media and other communication platforms that seek to divide us. The exposure to this barrage of information that contains some factual, some half-truths, and some outright lies can exacerbate our biases and prejudice, leaving us with an inability to discern truth from fiction. Which is why Dr. King believed education must do more, including helping to shape character. He stated, "We must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Genuine character education teaches us values, including decency, kindness, compassion, justice, and respect that all help with us in our decision making. Therefore, the purpose of education is to foster intelligence by teaching students critical thinking skills to assess information, to build character that aids them in that decision making that not only improves their lives, but improves the lives of others as well. Lastly, I must acknowledge that despite the difficulties in the country today and then as well, we have made great strides in education. According to the Economic Policy Institute, since Dr. King's assassination in 1968, more than 90% of African Americans ages 25 through 29 have graduated from high school, compared to just 54.4% in 1968. And college graduation rates have also improved. In 2019, 29% of Blacks ages 25 through 29 had a baccalaureate degree or higher, compared to only 9.1% in 1968. The numbers are much better, but they are nowhere near where they need to be. But I am encouraged by the abolitionist educators working hard to liberate and educate young minds so that they can truly thrive. In the words of Kendrick Lamar, we gonna be all right. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the legacy of Dr. King. Your presence inspires all of us to continue to create a more equitable, inclusive, and caring country where we all can thrive. Thank you.
I like to keep the suspense going a little bit. That's why the double entrance. So, as you know, today's theme is It Takes a Community. You've already experienced it. You came as one community, and we thank you for that. It takes all of us to continue to uphold Dr. King's legacy. It took all of you to honor and sing together the Black National Anthem, and that was amazing. And as we just heard, it takes a community to ensure that all of our kids have access to a good education. With that, another aspect of Dr. King's legacy is also the place of the arts in activism, and I am very excited to introduce our guest speaker, our next speaker. So our poet laureate, Julia Levine, again, congratulations, Julia, for being our city's poet laureate. Julia is a longtime resident of Davis, an accomplished poet and clinical psychologist who is passionately committed to both poetry and reducing the impacts of global warming, as well as working towards ecological justice. She is a recipient of several honors, including receiving an Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellowship in 2022. Her project, Hope River, involves working with middle school students on balancing hope as it relates to climate change. A community-wide event will take place in March, so please be on the lookout for that. Help me welcome our Poet Laureate, Julia B. Levine. Thank you.
Thank you, NJ, and thank you everyone for being here. And I'm so honored to be here in celebration of Martin Luther King Jr., who every MLK Day I listen to one of his speeches, and I'm always amazed at what a poet he is. He was such an amazing speaker. So I lived in Davis a long time, but I grew up in Flint, Michigan during the 1960s and 70s. And as a white child in a middle-class home, obviously I was privileged, but I also was lucky in that I was raised by people that believed in discrimination and injustice and racial injustice in particular. And they taught us it wasn't called this then, but they did really teach us a version of critical race theory, and I'm very grateful to that. I think some of that was because I was Jewish, and during that time we experienced a lot of anti-Semitism and discrimination ourselves, although of course I'm not trying to make any equation here between my experience and that of the Black people living in Flint. During 2020, very recently, there were the Black Lives Matter protests, and I tried really hard to learn how to be an ally. And all the things I read and saw, I wrote this poem in response to it. And just to ease your minds, I'm only going to read 2 poems, so it won't be very long. There's nothing worse than listening to poem after poem. So the title of this poem comes from something I'd read, and it's called Make of Me a Metaphor That Does Not Depend on Violence. Make of me a metaphor that does not depend on violence. In the summer of 1967, when I ask my father, why is Detroit on fire? And he answers, how would you feel if your sister lived in this house, but you slept and ate outside? But no one teaches us this is metaphor. Or why every morning we face the flag and the republic for which it stands, right hands on our hearts for liberty and justice for all. No one knows what liberty or justice means in April when Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. But in May, Mrs. McVannell hands everyone in 4th grade a block of slimy gray clay, and we slap and punch our fistful of earth until it's strong enough to survive. For weeks I live for that given hour. I disappear into my hands and reemerge as a god, ushering a mother and baby fox, a mother and baby owl, a mother and baby snake, while Elaine, who every day walks alone from the other side of town and is the tallest girl in class. Elaine, who always wears a skirt and sits with her hands in her lap at the playground's edge, the white yard duty, hurrying after me, whispering, go on now, play with your own kind. Elaine, who never speaks and will not answer when I ask if we can be friends, one day slips a small doe and fawn onto my desk. Because whiteness is not a metaphor. It is a killing thing, taught so quietly, so well that at 9 years I formed predators out of clay, while Elaine, the only black girl in our class, makes for me, for all of us white kids, pray. Thank you. I'm going to end with a poem by one of my absolute favorite poets in the world, Lucille Clifton. The late Lucille Clifton was a National Book Award winner for her selected poems, Blessing the Boats, and she was born in 1936 in Buffalo, New York, and she experienced a great deal of segregation, racism, discrimination, and yet her work emphasizes resilience, celebration, perseverance. Her poems are so unique, you always know when you're reading a Lucille Clifton poem, and they're powerful and they're spare. I was lucky enough to study with her for a week, and I found her to be one of those rarest of poets who embodies the profound love, knowledge, and power in their everyday interactions. In short, I loved her as a person, and I love her as a poet. And this poem is called Won't You Celebrate With Me by the great Lucille Clifton. Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model, born in Babylon, born non-white and woman. What did I see except to be myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me, come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and failed. Thank you.
I feel very tall suddenly. See if I can do something about that. Okay, it's better. Wow, I'm a bit speechless. Could we please have another round of applause for Julia? And I'll tell you why in a minute. Thank you. So I want to thank her and then everyone who's spoken this far for just the honesty and the vulnerability and the solidarity. All of you being here today is such a powerful show of solidarity in the face of hatred, racism, discrimination. Again, thank you for being here and for all the ways, all the many ways you're making a difference in our community. So I think that you noticed something that Julia mentioned. It's her interest in ecological issues and in environmental justice. And this is a beautiful segue to our next speaker. And I'm going to quote Larissa M. Wells. She said something that stunned me, and I'm sure we're all aware of that, but there is something about, hearing it out loud. So as you know, we're here today to celebrate Dr. King's legacy, a legacy of civil rights. So the way civil rights looked in the 60s has expanded when we are looking into the 21st century. And this is what Larissa told me. Environmental justice is a civil right. I'm going to let it sink for a second. So I am very honored to introduce our next speaker, Larissa M. Wells. She is an urban planner as well as a dynamic public administrator. She is the NAACP Environmental Justice Chair for the Sacramento Greater Region. She is a housing justice advocate. She's an educator. She's the owner of a nonprofit that focuses on equity policy. She has 2 masters in 5 different topics, and she's well-versed in leadership, strategic and long and short-term urban planning, data research, analysis, program assessment, project management, in planning policy development as it relates to DEI. So to anyone doing any type of policy work, community work, feel free to talk to her. She's always available. So again, please help me welcome Larissa M. Wells NAACP representative today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I sound real important. Seriously. I had to sit back. Who was she talking about? She's talking about me. As NJ mentioned, first of all, thank you, NJ, and thank you, everyone in the city of Davis for actually having me here and standing in on behalf of the NAACP, which has always been very involved in civil rights issues, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. included. There are going to be times where I'm actually going to end up going off script because I keep looking at that back there. And I remember growing up and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. But I went to predominantly white schools all of my life because that's where the education was, right? And I never really understood the words that I was saying and how they really applied to me. Because though things felt really good while I was there because all of the amenities that are there in those schools, when I went back home, it looked something totally different. The stress that my mother had just from trying to go to school and become a nurse with her children wasn't the same stress that other parents had when they were dropping off their children. But I digress. So we are here today to honor the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I think it's critical that we mention that he was a reverend, okay? Yes, that was first, and that's where that love part of him came in with the unity, yes, but I digress again. So we are here today to honor the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and while we are here, more than honoring the man, we are here to honor his philosophy for humanity. And while we are examining the philosophy of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., we are also here to acknowledge all of those who paved the way to make his dream a reality. I must be clear and say that there are so many that assisted in the efforts to make North America truly united, not just by its borders, but in the mindset and philosophy of humanity. However, 50+ years later, we are still having to endure the atrocities of mankind toward mankind. Sorry, that just gets me. So in order to understand why we are truly here today, I think it is of utter importance and significance to travel back in time, as the past is indeed the present. And the struggle continues. There is no difference, as I can visibly see, between the 1950s and 60s as we continue to struggle for the basic rights, such as voting. Why are people sitting at ballot boxes waiting? Why are states not being held accountable for that atrocity? Because that's an atrocity. Sorry, not sorry. So as I said, there is no difference that I can visibly see between the 1950s and 60s as we continue to struggle for the basic rights such as voting, housing, landfills in Black and brown communities, poor real estate, lack of home ownership, public education still going according to the systemic Carlisle school teaching. Our children are not able to say what they need to say without being sent to the principal's office and being suspended because you simply do not understand their vernacular. Well, why don't you just ask them? What do you mean? It's just that simple. Such simplicity for such complicated individuals. On April 4th, 1968, at the Lorraine Hotel, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was murdered. He was murdered by the very thing that he fought against, violence. In the past few years, We have seen so much violence. What would he say today? We're not just seeing it here, we're seeing it all over the place. But let's continue to stay right here because this is where we reside. Why are we so afraid to listen to one another? And let me be clear on something. Equality does not mean that something is going to be taken away from anyone. I shall repeat, because I don't think you heard me. Equality does not mean something is being taken away from you or you or you or you or me. That's not what that means. That means, as the Declaration of Independence states, we all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes? Part of that pursuit of happiness is environmental justice. Now, let me be clear. It does not just mean the air and the water. The environment in which you live needs to provide for you a sense of belonging. There is nothing wrong with various cultures. That is why we are here. But those cultural so-called differences, if we sit down to talk to one another, we will understand that we carry more similarities than differences that we ever thought. Just listen without rebut. Now, that means for both sides. That's not just for one side. And I'm not just talking about black and white. I am talking about white, Asian, Latino, Southeast Asian, Ukrainian, Russian, whatever it is. Let us be able to really talk about freedom ringing when we are sitting down with one another and we are honestly holding hands and looking at each other and say, you know what, I understand to the best of my ability. I'm not asking you, no one's asking you to try to recreate or you didn't have anything to do with what happened way back there, but you do have a responsibility on how you interact with each other and how we interact with each other on each day, starting today. Starting today. Whatever happened yesterday, the beautiful thing about the past is that it never has to come back unless we bring it back. So if we keep having this divisiveness and this division within our country, then perhaps we didn't get the message on leaving the past behind and honestly recreating or reconstructing this nation for the third time. But let it be right this time. So, when it comes to environmental justice, we're talking about the roads in our neighborhoods. We're talking about the blight in black and brown neighborhoods. We're talking about, well, honey, when you have blight, well, naturally, in bad roads, well, then naturally businesses are going to divest. They don't want that around because they feel things are going to be, people are going to be harassed and they can't get their business done. So why do the city services seem to stop in black and brown neighborhoods? And I assure you, if you were to take a redlining map from 1936, 1937, and overlay a current map over that map, you'll see that there's no difference right now. Sorry about that. That's how I'm feeling it. There is no difference between 1936 and 1937 and today as far as segregation is concerned. And now 17 states honestly want to segregate their schools. 17 states. 17. And that came within the past couple of years. So, when it comes time for us to unite, we can start by uniting with saying if we are in the position and we need to hold government agencies and others and nonprofits and whomever else happens to be involved in receiving money, that these neighborhoods are honestly taken care of the way that every neighborhood is. Everybody has that right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't care if you make $13,000 versus $300,000. You're living in your wonderful, beautiful neighborhood, but why does the city services, we're still paying city taxes, right? So why is my neighborhood looking like this? Why am I not being able to get the housing rehabilitation grants? For some people, it's called surplus. For other people, it's called welfare. Let's call a spade so we can fix it. Fix it. Fix it. We can't let our predecessors just be the only ones that were doing any kind of thing, and we just sit here and come here on a day and say, okay, we did our part. You didn't do nothing but show up at an event. But when you go back out there, and when we leave today, starting right now, we can make a difference, because it took a conglomeration of people to assist Dr. Martin Luther King in making his vision a reality. It was not him alone, but he was chosen as the spokesperson. He said, somebody got to do it. That came in December 5th, 1955. Okay? So we all have a job to do. So lastly, when it comes to our neighborhoods, we have the right to live in a crime-free neighborhood. But when you have poverty, concentrated poverty, because there are no jobs, this is no different than what Dr. Martin Luther King was saying. We need jobs. We are tired of not being. Let me tell you something. Why is it that you got to have 39 degrees in order to get the same promotion as your counterpart? Why is that? Unfortunately, as an African-American woman, the way I was raised is that I have to be 3 times better than my counterpart in order to have the same one opportunity. You know how tiresome that is? I'm tired, broke down. And as a result of such, I owe $169,000 in student loans. And I'm still not where I feel I should be, because they won't let me. Think about that. We want to raise our children in crime-removed areas. We want trees. We really do want trees. You know, we want a nice river. You know. Anyway, I went way off script. So this time, as I'm looking at this flag today, sorry. I need for this flag to be for me too. My family died here. My father told me, my family. I have a picture of my great-grandmother I found in my grandmother's belongings when she passed, and she was born in 1862. I'm only 2 generations removed. This is real. We are people. We all experience the same thing: love, happiness, joy, peace, sorrow, death, life. We all experience the same thing. So let us have the same rights and the same quality of life as you and me. Let it begin. Let freedom ring now. Thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Wow. Larissa M. Wells. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, at this point of our program, I would like to please give a big shout out to the Davis Media Access. Thank you. Thank you so much, because you have carried us through this pandemic since 2020 in helping us stay connected, and also in making many programs like this one available to people who cannot yet leave their house. So thank you again. And I would like us to do a call of response. I'm going to say, what does it take? And you're going to say, community with conviction. Does that work? Let's try it. What does it take? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. What does it take? You're all fantastic. Okay, I am super excited because our next guest is a hip-hop artist based in Sacramento. So Mr. Lewis is Sacramento-based conscious rapper, videographer, brand owner, gardener, father. Mr. Lewis is known for his thought-provoking lyrics and tremendous work ethic. Please help me welcome today's musical performer, Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? How you feeling? Again, I am Mr. Lewis, and I am rebuilding the culture. I'm out here empowering my little ones, bringing back, just a lot of positive, empowering words into the music like we need into our lives, showing them how to be self-sufficient as much as I can and learning, growing food. I homeschool them. I really feel like the answers for a lot of our problems is to do for self, learn how to grow food, learn how to build, learn how to just take care of our communities the way that we want them to be, And with that said, I'm gonna do 2 songs for y'all. The first song is called Mansa Bubu Kari, and then the second song is called Keep It Simple, but I got you. All right, 3, 2, 1. We're having some technical difficulties. Hold on.
Okay, just very quickly. Okay, sorry. Since I'm here, I'm just going to make the quick announcement. So at the end of the program, please look out for an NAACP survey that's going to be in the lobby. And once again, a round of applause for Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
Feel this energy.
Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. I was the one who discovered America way before the European. A navigator and a ruler. I know that I did extraordinary things. I did. You gon' learn that the stories that they told us always wasn't what it seems. Nah. I was using all my power to search and explore the world by any means. Crossing the seas so I can see what's really out here for me. The richest man on the planet, but I'd rather live my life out free. They told me that it wasn't possible, but I did not believe that it would be. I studied the stars, the currents and all. I did not need a degree. Abubakari was the name. The 9th man saw on the voyage. 2,000 boats in the Atlantic. The adventure I made was a story. I gave the throne to my brother Mansa Musa just so I can reach the limits. It was more about discovery of self. I didn't need the image. There was no compass before Columbus. We did most of this from nothing. An African scholar straight out of Mali. I wasn't just anybody. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? Just a young brave guy. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. Who am I? Who am I? This is for you and I. I am power, I am love, I am hard work, and I am the above. I'm evolving, I am loyal, I am everything. I know that I'm royal. I am strong, I am worthy, I'm a work of art, and life is working for me. I know I'm living out my purpose, I am here to serve when you need my service. I'm changing the world with my work. I know I was chosen since birth. I am the earth, I know that I'm healing the curse. How I vibe through the verse, putting love first. I'm out here quenching they thirst. It's getting better, not worse. Been through the dirt, but it's good, I know my worth. You can be cured if you hurt. I am at work, I know I'm ready. I know I'm ready. I know I'm great. I know I'm great. I'm a curator. I'm a curator. Watch me curate. Watch how I do. I am enough. I am enough. I know I'm smart. I know I'm smart. I got your trust. I got your trust. I know my part. I do. I'm in control. I'm in control. I know I'm bold. I know I'm bold. I am unique. I am unique. Worth more than gold. I am. I choose to be happy. I choose to be happy. And let life unfold. It will. I know I am valuable. I know that I'm valuable. I'm never alone. I'm not. I'm more than what could be explained. Success is calling my name. No, I'm not afraid of change. This is an energy exchange. I'm more than what could be explained. Success is calling my name. No, I'm not afraid of change. This is an energy exchange. Here you go, y'all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I got one more track for you. And again, what you guys were seeing on the background, I put that video together. I also shoot and edit videos. And again, I want to give a great shout out to NJ and Sandy Holmes for having me. And UC Davis for having me as well, but this is my last one. I got you. Hard times won't last forever, just know that it's temporary. It's temporary. At least they don't when you know you're a visionary. It might be a little uncomfortable, but you can't be scary. You can't be scary. We've been here plenty of times, no need to worry. It's a phase that we gon' get through, but I know you're in a hurry. Soon the images to all this will be blurry. In just a matter of time, you'll see who's really trustworthy. You'll really see. Don't take it lightly, end up sleeping with the enemy. You might even like it, but don't jeopardize your energy. That's the way you end up out here somewhere you're not supposed to be. Sometimes we block our blessings, low vibrating with these frequencies. We could be doing more, but they not ready for it secretly. You never know. I'm just saying, better watch out who you kick it with. Yeah. We never see it coming till we're in the wrong predicament. I'm tired of dealing with it, it comes with the false imprisonment. If we gon' be around, then add some value to them sentences. We get in life. There's always more we could be doing. There's always more. If we got the power, we should use it then. I wanna see you shine, I know we both can win. If it's finna benefit us, we should soak it in. Good times, yo, we hydrated. These talks will change your mind when you are frustrated. Anything that moves us forward, we should celebrate it. Keep it simple, it doesn't have to be complicated. Yeah, hey, keep it simple, it doesn't have to be complicated. You know, simple things that we can do to make a lot of differences in our lives. Thank you again. I am Mr. Lewis. Yes, yes. And I do have a table that's outside. I have a clothing line that I put together myself, God Mode and Goddess Mode. And I got some flyers and other things like that for you. But again, I appreciate you.
feeling bouncy. Okay, so following up on Mr. Lewis, again, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for the life-affirming lyrics, unity, perseverance, your treasure. Following on what Mr. Lewis said, I would like also to encourage you, once the event is over, please make sure to interact. We have several non-profit organizations here today upholding Dr. Legacy, doing the work today. They need you. If you're not volunteering anywhere, don't worry, we got you, okay? So, and I also want to give a shout out to the TC Foundation. Forgive me, it's okay, if I'm mispronouncing. But they also have clothing outside, so please make sure that you check that out as well. I am super excited because I feel like we've had such a diversity of people, experiences, and background, and the next speaker is going to even further elevate what the experience has been already. So, I am very honored to introduce, Daniel Ngoto. Daniel is a Cameroonian-born speaker who immigrated from South Africa at 16 with his family and joined the Yolo County School District. He joined the Yolo Ethnics Task Force soon after, when it was just a rough project, and then was recruited in the Yolo Ethnic Studies Academy, and he's now one of the leaders of that organization, which is led by Professor Moreno, Emily Henderson of Acme Theater, and many more community leaders. In addition to his accomplishment, Daniel was very active as a Davis High School student. He was a high honor student. He was one of the leaders of the BSU, was actually leading it, and now he's studying economics, while still also working on many, many grassroots projects in improving our community and ensuring that our youth has a voice. Please help me welcome our very own Davis, I want to say raised, Daniel Ngoto. Thank you so much.
Woo, the spotlight's bright. But I like it. I think I was made for it. Okay, so before I start, I'm going to just give you a quick quote from Rolihlahla Mandela, or as you all know him, Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And I'm going to speak to you today about the gatekeeping of education and the subsequent costs that it does when it economically withdraws a whole population outside of the economy. But I'm going to do so through storytelling. The first story is going to be about Rolihlahla Mandela, and so here it goes. There once was a boy born of a Xhosa chief who, in order for him to achieve, his father sent him off to go to school, sold his gold, gave up his culture in order to buy him the finest shoes he could. In African culture and spirituality, one's hair is the center of their existence because it's the thing that connects us to our ancestors, and it keeps us homogenous and respectful of where we come from, who we are, and those who have led the way to who we can be. They cut his hair. On his first day of school, Rolihlahla was too hard to pronounce, so we all know him as Nelson. He gave up his culture, he gave up his identity. In order to exist in school, you can't be physically white, but you can get as damn near close to white proximity as you can. We stand up straight, our backs held straight. You look, you enunciate. Make sure you pronunciate. Make damn right that you do not accidentally say, "What up?" Ebonics doesn't go, so we're going to perform whiteness. The second story is going to be of me. On my first day of school, when I was 6 years old, my mom sat me down. Her message was, "Daniel, you know, I know, we know. And if you know that conversation." the preparation that needs to be done for the battleground that I'm going to have to face as I sit in the classroom. My hair needs to be cut short because to grow an afro is to be political or to look unruly or to be distracting. I'm going to make sure I wake up at 5:30 for an 8:30 class. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I spend an hour picking out what I'm wearing. Does this look gang affiliated? Is this too different? How does this make me look in the guy behind me? On my first day of school, I wore a shirt that represents my culture. I'm exotic. I'm the topic of conversation. Where do you come from? What is that? Where is that? You speak such good English. I didn't know they spoke English there. You know what's the difference between those two stories? One's from apartheid South Africa. The other one is from 5 years ago. Martin Luther King said in his I Dream speech that he dreams of a day when black men and white men can be happy together, fight together, go to prison together. And overall, the theme was we're able to do things in an equitable way, where race is not seen as a hindrance, but simply a factor, not something that is going to hold you back or accelerate you, but something that simply exists there as a simple part of you having hair. It's not a big difference. How can we say we have achieved his dream when I still live in a world that I'm not white, but I need to perform proximity to whiteness in order to be accepted in white adjacent spaces? In order for what I say to be seen as valuable, I need to prove I'm worthy. By simple virtue of being born black and having the unfortunate side effect of being born on planet Earth, there's a price for blackness. It means I need to prove to everyone I can speak 8 languages. I had a 4.7 when I graduated. I've gone to private schools. Yes, I'm illiterate also in other 5 languages, but the white kids don't need to do that. Their whiteness opens doors for them that my blackness will always have closed for me. And I need to constantly be proving on a daily basis that I am worthy of an existence, because my blackness is seen as something that deems me unworthy, otherworldly. So I always used to ask this question: why aren't there black kids in AP classes? I have black friends. It's okay, you can say it too, you have black friends. Some of the smartest people I know are black. But why aren't we in AP classes? When you go to college, they care if you were in AP classes. They care if you did dual enrollment. Why aren't black kids in those classes? I'll tell you. I don't want to be the topic of conversation when everyone snatches my paper away at me. It's like, you got a 96? They look at my grade, they look at me. Yes, Negroes can get 96s on a test. IQ is not related to my skin color. I do not want to be put in an environment where I have to constantly perform. Everyone talks about code switching. To be black is to be in a perpetual state of performativity. The only time we truly get to be ourselves is in our own heads. But even then, we don't even have emotional autonomy. Because in order for me to be deemed and valuable and to present the respectable Negro, I can't get mad because I don't want to be a brute. I can't be too happy because I don't want to be making sure people think I use substance abuse. I don't want to be too sad. You know, hard background, his mom's probably a crack addict. I'm placid. I don't have emotions. Paint me as you want me, because the world is going to constantly digest me as so. So in order for me to survive, I need to be able to have 1,000,000 coats. But what's the cost? My sanity. Junior year of high school, damn near suicidal. Yeah, I got a 1600 on my SATs. Nobody cares. He's a statistical outlier. No. I managed to survive all the hoops and obstacles you set aside for me that sadly my brothers and sisters were too smart to even dare trying, because it is hard. Do you want to wake up at 5:30 every morning to prep your clothing because you don't want to raffle the feathers of your teachers? Do you want to bite your tongue in your English class when you know damn well what that teacher just said was racist? Do you want to put your hand down in math class because you know if you pick up your hand, your calculus teacher is not going to answer you? That white boy who's being destructive in the background, he's going to be seen as being a revolutionary. But you asking a question, you're a troublemaker, so Negro, you better shut the hell up. You don't want co-curriculars because the only thing they see my body as is a commodity. I'm only good for you when I'm playing sports. My mind is not a sanctuary. You want to exploit my body. But what's different about now than it was in the 1600s? High school boys are selling their bodies to colleges, but these colleges don't worthy their minds. They don't even care about the fact that this is a person. It's a check for them. They're making money off of these black and brown boys' bodies, but they don't respect the sanctity of their minds, their intellect. So they spiral out of control. They drop out. But you hear them as statistics. You don't humanize their experience because you can digest us when we're a number. But to give us a story, to give us a face, oh no, that goes too close to home. That gives us humanity. Something that this world says our blackness is not worthy of. That's the real cost of education. Walking onto my high school campus, having the security guard follow me around, although he's seen me that entire year. But he's not following anyone. The only clubs that are trying to talk to me, it's the football coach, it's the track and field coach. They're not interested that when I was 14 in South Africa, I was debating with college students, no. They just see a body, a black body, that they can buck break and make money from. I have a $sign attached to me. And so do all those little black boys and girls. Why? Why is it that is so? Our parents do the best they can to protect us from this world, but even they can't. It is not just their job, it's yours, and yours, and yours. Because if this is a community, why don't you look out for me? Why was my 6-year-old brother having an identity crisis? Because nobody wanted to listen to him. He wasn't worthy of respect. At simple virtue of having the cost of blackness. And as a price, he got put into therapy. That didn't work. What would have happened if he would have spiraled? He would have just been another unharmed statistic, a number, no face. You don't care unless it's a case. Let's make it Black Lives Matter. You act as if it just happened then and it hasn't been happening and it isn't stay happening. If Black lives really matter, prove it.
How do you want to follow up on that? Seriously? Mr. Daniel Ngoto. I want to thank you for your courage, and I want to thank you despite all of your experiences and pain and struggle for not being afraid to be in this world, to love us, to forgive, to fight back, to speak your truth, to create a pathway for other youth to be empowered to speak up. Thank you. Okay. So with that, to all of us here, I have a question for you, and you know what's coming. What does it take? What does it take? Okay. What does it take? Yes. So, I am very excited to introduce another troublemaker. So, Rachel Fulp Cook is a partner in crime, I'm not afraid to say. She has lived in Davis with her husband David and daughter Audrey since 2011. Rachel has a professional background in public health and is active in the Davis civic and school communities. She founded the Parents of African American Children Davis in 2012 and currently serves as a vice chair of the Social Services Commission. And, because that's not enough, of course, she is a member of the board of directors of the Davis Arts Center. Please help me welcome Rachel Fulp Cook. Thank you.
Good morning. I am so happy to have to go after that. Good times. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Wow, you're an inspiration to us all. Okay. All right. Hello. My name is Rachel Fulp Cook, and I'm honored to be with you here today to honor the life and celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I'd also like to thank NJ and the Human Relations Commissions for inviting me to come here to speak. I live in South Davis with my husband David and my 13-year-old daughter Audrey. We have lived in Davis for almost 12 years, and we are proud to call Davis our home. About a year after we moved here, I founded a group called Parents of African American Children Davis, also known as PACT, and I served as its lead organizer for 8 years. I founded the group to bring together parents, caregivers, and kids to build friendships and a supportive community while celebrating our African American heritage. One of the many joyous events that we took part in was for our children to read Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech at this very event several years ago. I'm going to read a passage from the speech that resonated with me and dovetails with today's theme of It Takes a Village. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. I currently serve as the vice chair for the Social Services Commission here in Davis. In that capacity, the Davis City's council goal that the commission works most actively to support is to ensure a safe, healthy, equitable community. Specifically, we want to advance 2 objectives. First, to increase, maintain, and improve the supply of affordable housing. And second, to reduce the number of individuals who are unhoused. Today, in celebrating the memory and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I would like to talk about how we, as a community, envision and address affordable housing in Davis. I believe that in order to reframe this discussion, we must embrace an abundance agenda. Simply put, we need more abundant housing, particularly affordable housing in Davis. In doing this, we will combat the problem of scarcity. More housing will benefit everyone in our community. Scarcity does not help our community in any way. In order to do this, we must mitigate fear. Opposition to growth runs deep. Greater restrictions on growth may make some feel safe, and to them make society seem more fair. To that end, as a community, it is incumbent upon all of us to understand and to address the concerns of supporters and detractors alike. To do this successfully, we must understand that the things that motivate all of us most strongly are emotions and perceptions, not pure reason. We have to be able to communicate that what we all love about Davis will survive and flourish in a more plentiful community. Using an us versus them framework is poisonous to our community. From any vantage point, if ideas presented are seen as a threat to underlying concerns, the argument will fall on deaf ears. Everyone wants to feel seen and heard, so concerns must be addressed effectively. Supporters and detractors alike also need to feel that this agenda will make them better off, and it is imperative to advocate in a way that does just that. An abundance agenda can absolutely make the vast majority of people better off. There are a myriad ways to define a more prosperous community. I love this community and believe in our potential to make a meaningful impact in this area, locally, regionally, and nationally. It takes a community to address the shortages in housing and affordable housing. It takes a community to understand and serve the needs of our entire community. It takes a community to support the overall well-being of every individual and family in Davis. Because in the end, when we all do better, we all do better. So what do we do next? To support and advance this work, our community must engage in meaningful and authentic partnerships to promote community engagement and dialogue, and to build community trust. What we must bring to the table is a dedication and a commitment to all of our residents. A refined and open mindset, and a diversity in perspective and experience, all in service to our community. This work is not intended to be and cannot be accomplished in one workshop. As a community, we must commit to ongoing work. These conversations are already taking place in Davis, which is critical. Fostering healthy relationships within and amongst community members will make all of us active stakeholders. Building community trust, addressing underlying concerns, and authentic engagement with community members will lead to a much strengthened community and one much more receptive to open discussion about issues. I will end with this. This is my favorite part of the I Have a Dream speech because it speaks to how we need to envision growth. Growth begets growth, as opposed to stagnation. And also, a special aside, this is the part of the speech that my daughter read at the event several years ago. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, and we can all do this together. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Thank you.
Free at last. I have good news for you. You are going to be set free from this place very soon. Okay, so we are almost at the end of our program. I have just a couple of announcements to make, housekeeping. Normally, this event is always concluded with a march. So we were going to march from this location to Central Park, where we have the Solidarity Space. But given the recent storms, weather crisis, all the parks in Davis are closed, as far as I know. So we're not going to have a march today, but please do not despair. Why? Because that gives you more time, the moment we're done here, to speak with Larissa, Daniel, and Mayor Arnold, and Dr. Gomez, and so many other of the people who are here. And we also have wonderful people in the audience who've made history, so find out who they are, and please speak to them. Today we were going to have a speaker who is a registered nurse, and she created a nonprofit in Sacramento called Mental Health First Sacramento, where she trained street medics to help keep people safe if you happen to be marching or you have to be in the, out there protesting. She's also been very instrumental in her community, and by extension, we felt the effects here in helping families that have been at the end of interactions with the police that unfortunately were terrorizing of Ireland. She's a peacemaker. She's a fierce advocate, truth teller. Her name is Asantiwa Boykin, RN. She's an artist. This is her book. And I'm going to read, with her permission, a poem that is titled Fear. And again, this is a segue from what we just heard. It's very short. She was in an accident a few days ago, so she apologized for not being here. She almost lost her life. So thank you for keeping her in your thoughts. So as I read this poem titled Fear, I am inviting you to reflect on something, one thing, that crippled you last year. What was your biggest fear last year or even today? With that in mind, listen to these words. Fear. Hi. We've been friends for a while and grown to know each other quite well. And in some ways, you've served me. But if we're honest, you've kept me stagnant, judgmental, and mostly towards the one I love. Self-doubting, self-hating, mistrusting, and suffocated. So here, now, is where we unyoke. I have spoken peace and love in your place, patience, acceptance, and integrity in your place. Though we both know you're not the type to just leave when you're told, we also both know that I am persistent. So listen. Dear fear, you are no longer welcome. This heart has no room for your scorn, for your forked tongue or ill wishes. Your self-destructive tendencies can no longer be my safety net or an excuse. So please excuse me, but here, old friend, is where we part. So, Asantiwa Boykin. I need to give you a little heads up. If you're interested in purchasing this book, it's not for the faint of heart. She does not censor what she says. So, one last piece of housekeeping. Thank you for her. The survey NAACP I mentioned looks like this. It's all around the lobby. So again, when you exit this room, please look for it. Just take a screenshot, with your phone, and then that will direct you to the survey. You can answer on the spot or just later. Now, you have all been waiting for it. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend you don't know, you know. Because I'm about to introduce local celebrities. Oh yeah. So every single year, as far as I know, they always grace us with their presence, with their joy, the liveliness. They're very inspiring. Afro-Mini Vibes is a sibling group that seeks to educate the community about diversity, equity, and inclusion through dance, spoken word, and acting. So if you have a play in the making, please. They have performed together since the youngest was 2 years old. They can be found on Instagram as Afro Mini Vibes in one word. And you can enjoy their cooking show on YouTube. The name of the show is Cooking with the Zim Cuisines. I have a little tip for you. Get an autograph while you can, because I don't know when you're going to have access to them. Please help us welcome, give a warm welcome to Afro Mini Vibes. Thank you all.
Hi, our names are the Afro Mini Vibes, and we're going to be doing 2 performances for you guys here in honor of Black Lives Matter. And we're also selling these shirts that my brother's wearing out at the back. Please support us. Thank you.
Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Best thing in the world. Never trade you for anybody else. And a brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never trade you for anybody else. Singing.
She says she really grew up poor like me. Don't believe in nothing but the Almighty. Just a little jeans and a pure whitey. She never dreamed forever be nobody wifey. Yeah. She well, I mean, a pretty but your heart is a miss. Play you like a villain cause she caught in a way. Tonight I am walking away. 9 to 5 mine and I grind, yeah. Tonight I might fall in love. Depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing and call it love. She fights it by falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told me. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. You're back against the world. I never trade you for anybody else. A brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in all the world. I never trade you for anybody else.
Pose like a trophy when Naomi's walking. She need an Oscar for that pretty dark skin. Pretty like Lupita when the camera's closing. Drip broke the levee when my Kelly's rolling. I think tonight she might braid her braids. Melanin too dark to throw her shade. She minds her business and winds her waist. Go like 24K. Okay.
Tonight I might fall in love. Depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing and call it love. She fighting but falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told me. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. You're back against the world. I never tried you for anybody else. A brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing about the world. I never tried you for anybody else.
Oh, have you looked in the mirror lately? Wish you could trade eyes with me. Cause there's complexities in complexion, but your skin is glow like diamonds. Dig me like the earth, you be giving birth to everything alive, baby, know your worth. I love everything about you, from your nappy curls to every single curve, your body natural. Same skin that was broken, be the same skin taking over. Most things out of focus view, but when you're in the room, they
No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry.
ain't shed no tear. No woman, no cry. Good friends we have, and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say.
Bad man looking good in the bad man drip to the car. Sports cars parked on the right spot. Bad man slick and you know. Bad man looking good in the bad man drip to the car. Sports cars parked on the right spot. Bad man slick and you. Me got a girl on me bed right now. She says she no one leave. She tell me, Ruga, me I want to spend the rest of me life with you. Me say no shit. Oh Lord, fly you to Maldives for a day, then we fly back quick. Then we take a quick jet, fly straight to Paris. You fucking with the creme de la creme. Say she never seen a guy like me. She confess. Say nobody hit it right like me. She confess. Bend down, get on your knees, girl, never digress. Ooh, she really wanna flex with me. She wanna break bread with me. Bad man looking good in the bad man drip to the car. Sports cars parked on the right spot. Bad man slick and you know. Bad man looking good in the bad man drip to the car. Sports cars parked on the right spot. Bad man slick and you. Clarity won't be me. Screw all them niggas, them I won't be me. Ice on me, looking fresh and clean. Definitely put me eye patch on me. Take my vanilla cold stone in my villa. Me one drop your Risa Sativa on cold. Say she never seen a guy like me. Yeah, she confess. Say nobody hit it right like me. She confess.
Kapepa, kanamchida. Hey, kashisha. Kapepa aka kashisha. Kuzigukonzera ruja akachimesha. Zvidikidiki ndodama sekenzi andidi wiki. Ndadarone kuti ndiri papi. Changu chirauro chabata shaki pandati ataki. Don't make a sense. Don't do that and the thing on my sense. Don't be that patch up and the party tense. Ndagaje pira majens. Kushika bandi teacher zubuza. Jauya jina chibambuza. Bari kupisa apa bari hot. Chindi pandi bure short. Sigi. Oh no. Munandi guta. Azi munandi guta. Sigi. Oh no. Munandi guta. Azi munandi guta. Ndaenda newini vakunditiko zvakatangarini iwewe hausi inini nditori nini ndomudza mushini ndini ndotsangamaniwa kwedza zvinotogohwa kwete zvemakuhwa chandakagara ndakohwa ndosaka nhasi charira chingoma charohwa chisunga dzisimbe ndati tifambe usazvirambe pandinojambisa vasingajambe pandinobhambisa zvisingabhambe panorira pembe siki oh no munondiguta nhasi munondiguta siki munondiguta nhasi munondiguta mushe zvidiki hazvindishushe haisisiri nguva yeweshe inaroropa reushe bvunza munashe yes finesse no mess zvanhasi zvitongori wese zvanhasi hazvina reverse tarisa face zvidikidiki ndoda masekenzi handidi wiki ndadaro nekuti ndiri papiki changu chirauro chabata shaki pandati ataki no make a sense ndodhura handitengwe nemasensi ndopinda pacho panzi pari tense
Wow. Okay, I have to tell you something. I've lost track of how many times you stood up today. That's wonderful. So let's hear it one last time. What does it take? What does it take? What does it take? You have a fantastic week. Thank you for being the change makers that you are, making a difference in your neighborhood. And again, see you tomorrow. Okay, this concludes our program. I would like once again to thank everyone who made this event possible, all the organizations that are here today, Davis Media Access, Sandy Holman and the Culture Co-op, all our fantastic guest speakers. One more round of applause for our guest speakers and performers. And one other important thing, because good, positive change happens thanks to all of us. So one round of applause to you as well, please. Thank you. Have a good week and Happy New Year.
Wait, hello. Before everybody goes, hello. Listen, remember that flyer and thank you, NJ, for letting me do this. Remember the flyer, the red one with the QR code that NJ had spoken about? I want to explain what that is quickly. That is called the J40 initiative from the Biden administration. And what that means is there are $3 trillion out there for disadvantaged communities. That J40, the 40, is 40% is mandated to go to these disadvantaged communities. I have already identified the disadvantaged communities in Northern California. All right? But we need the numbers. Otherwise, we're not going to get the money. So 40% of $3 trillion is $1.3 trillion. So did we not see all the trees uprooting? Now, this is not just for people of color. This is everybody. All right? Homeless people died because trees were uprooted and fell on them. People's houses were caved in. Our roads are messed up. Sinkholes. We need this money, but if we don't have the numbers, we're not going to get it. That's $1.3 trillion. Finally. So if we're talking about this day, please, all you got to do is scan your phone on the code outside. You'll see them, all right? Please help this money so that we can help these communities. I no longer live in one, but that doesn't mean that I don't know what it feels like. Okay? Can I get your support? Come on, y'all. Get your support. Get the clicking. Click, 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 click. Thank you. Oh, I love you guys. I really do. Thank you.
Was down in Mississippi, not so.